Jeskai Control.
Yeah, love it.
Ooh.
Love it. I was going to say, Chris Andersen, a great player here. Jeskai Control, this is very close to the Carlos Ramao deck from the Pro Tour. The Creatures field is just for Torrential Gearhulks. Chris starts out on Prairie Stream for Bradley. It's a land. Chris Thraben Inspector making a clue. Island and pass. Chris, you see he's beefed up the deck a bit with some higher drops. Cards like Jace, Unraveler of Secrets have been boarded in.
In the main deck, he has 2 copies of Nahiri the Harbinger.
Bradley's deck looks great. I'm really excited to see something like this in top 8. Third land is another Prairie Stream from Chris. He just passes back. He's left up enough mana to crack that clue. Bradley is going to harness Lightning on end step, taking care of the Thraben Inspector, leaves 1 energy around. This is the only Jeskai Control deck to make it into day 2.
And part of the motivation for killing the Thraben Inspector, it doesn't look like a great use removal spell, but he has multiple sort of Edict and combat effects, say Blessed Alliance, where he wants to be able to catch a good creature in combat.
So he'll have to, what you're saying then is he'll have to be able to, he'll have to kill it at some point eventually?
If you want an Edict to be good, sometimes you have to spend some spot removal on a bad creature.
Big miss here for Chris. He's not going to hit land 4, even though he cracked that clue. His hand is always watching Jace, some Avacens, a Spell Queller. So we'll just trade land drops right now.
And if both players are doing nothing, that's exactly what Bradley wants to do all match.
Absolutely. Chris end steps the Spell Queller, so he has a threat on the board, and now he draws back into some land. Here is land 4. 3 mana, always watching. Let's make that Spell Queller into something formidable. Is it going to work? We'll find out. It's a 3/4. Looks like the always watching resolves. A swing, and Bradley, Blessed Alliance, sacrifice a creature. Did not escalate, though. No gain 4 on it. Deciding to leave up negate. Is there a 1 mana spell he has to be careful for?
I can't think of any.
Nahiri the Harbinger at the play for Bradley Hill.
Can't negate a Thraben Inspector.
It goes down -2 and exiles away the always watching.
I was a little suspicious of always watching being in the deck post sideboard. I would want to just leverage as many threats as possible.
Yeah, Bradley can ignore it.
Yeah, if I was Bradley, I probably just would have looted.
Maybe. I mean, maybe he already has things he wants. He pluses the Nahiri, and look at a show of strength here. He didn't even discard and draw. He actually just likes his hand. Chris,
That's scary.
Chris just passes. Back to Bradley here.
He has some Gearhulks hanging out. He's going to want to find a 6th land. I would loot away something.
He's just looting away nothing. Why? Avacen, end step for Chris, will be tried for.
I suppose he's not in a hurry.
He lets it resolve. Oh, you're killing us, Bradley.
I enjoy this do-nothing style of Magic.
I love
appreciate
it, yeah.
that.
I'm a little concerned. I hope it's there's 2 kinds of do nothing. There's the strong kind where you have it all and do nothing, and then there's the weak kind where you do nothing because you do nothing.
Right. You know, this Jeskai deck, it does have to make land drops. If you're going to be casting Torrential Gearhulk, you certainly need 6 lands on the battlefield, right?
Yeah.
It looks like he has Stasis Snare Negate, so he can do something with all of his mana, potentially fight a war there.
Sure. Avacen is going to go ahead and swing at Nahiri. Stasis Snares the play. Or actually, no, it's Immolating Glare. Boom. Yeah, destroy target attacker, sure. Avacen in response for Chris. This will make his first Avacen indestructible. It will also flip the Avacen. Remember, Immolating Glare is destroy target attacking creature.
Oh, there won't be any flip. There's an angel dying. Avacen doesn't check for
Oh,
angels.
right. She doesn't mind when angels hit the graveyard, just when other things do.
Right. She can watch herself die and be completely unfazed.
A good warrior. It's a trait of a good warrior. Bradley will rummage with the Nahiri, discarding one of his Torrential Gearhulks and drawing.
All right. I agree with the decision to finally loot something. It doesn't especially matter what it is. Just draw a land somehow.
He's got a Quarantine Field in hand. It would be a 1-for-1 removal spell if he goes for it, and would take down the negate. I think that's some part of his concern, but he might just do it anyway.
Yeah, the Avacen just can kill the Nahiri.
Not going to let that happen. So, Avacen placed under quarantine. Back over to Chris Andersen. His hand is Jace, Selfless Spirit, and Stasis Snare. So now that the negate is down, the Quarantine Field has been used. Bradley may have trouble answering Jace, but Chris will need it to be good. It's his last real threat. The Unraveler of Secrets is here. But it's a great threat if Chris could only have one card. Scry 1 and draw will likely be the mode. Yeah, and Bradley, I think sad to miss that land drop. A negate there would have been great.
Also, he still has another Gear Hulk in hand, which would be excellent here. You'd have a way to pressure the Jace.
Well, there's Spire Bluff Canal. It's going to come into play tapped, though.
Yeah, if he looted, he would have found that last turn.
We
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm with you. Nahiri up to 6. Discard and draw for Bradley Hill. He'll discard Spell Queller. And draw a basic Plains. That was just the one spell he didn't want Chris to resolve, was that Jace.
Right. Finding the Plains here is big, though. He'll be able to cast the Gear Hulk on this turn.
Yeah, but remember, Chris's last card there was a Stasis Snare. He actually has an answer.
Yep. He'll be able to generate some value off of it anyway, and then put pressure, help empty out Chris's hand.
There's just not many cards in Bradley Hill's deck that answer an onboard Planeswalker.
And he is playing 4 Wandering Fumarole. That's one of the better ways for these controlling decks to pressure Planeswalkers. However, he hasn't drawn any.
Selfless Spirit number 2 for Chris Andersen. And Chris, this just on the back of this Jace, is chipping away. Selfless Spirit attacks, and now Bradley will flash Spell Queller into play. Stasis Snare will take care of the Spell Queller if Bradley allows it. He's got a negate.
And negate here would be strong because Chris doesn't have enough mana to cast the Gideon after all this.
Now negate on the Stasis Snare. Spell Queller blocks. Selfless Spirit down and a go. Great sequence of plays here for Bradley. So he'll get to start pressuring the Jace. And Glimmer of Genius, the draw. Now the Jeskai deck's doing what it wants to. He's got enough mana for Gear Hulk. Chris's Stasis Snare's gone. All right.
He's ahead on the board. He has ways to generate even more counter advantage from here.
+2. Discards Anticipate to draw. Draws Anticipate. All right. Shake his head. Sure, whatever. I guess I wanted that card after all. Spell Queller eventually takes care of Jace, but not until Chris has drawn 100 cards.
Yeah, he's fine letting the Jace get to 8. Just block on the Selfless Spirit, have his Nahiri add enough loyalty to go find another Torrential Gear Hulk, and then just be way ahead.
And he's going to main phase this Torrential Gear Hulk and shoot down Selfless Spirit. Yeah, that emblem, for Chris to get there, the emblem's a pretty big deal. Emblem says whenever an opponent plays a spell, for the first spell each turn, counter it. Bradley probably cannot win if that happens.
No. Luckily for Bradley, he's way ahead, and Chris just do a revolutionary rebuff.
Scry to the bottom and a draw off Jace. Draws him into Scatter to the Winds. Well, that's a pretty excellent card in this matchup. But his difficulty right now is that there's this 5/6 Gear Hulk in play. And Chris does not have a removal spell just yet. He does have a blocker. Here's Gideon.
Well, there's a Nahiri on 8 as well. That's just another Gear Hulk.
You're right, you can ultimate to get another Gear Hulk. So looking at Bradley's graveyard.
Well, he can just cast Glimmer of Genius from his hand. -8 Nahiri for Gear Hulk and Glimmer again.
And when you Nahiri, the creature does it die in a turn or does it come back to hand?
Comes back to your hand.
I love this deck. There's so much. That's so many cards. He's going to ultimate the Nahiri. This is going to be for a Torrential Gear Hulk. Oh, this is good. This is so satisfying to watch. Just. All right, okay, 5/6 haste. What are we going to do with it? We're going to cast something for free.
Yeah, discarded the Anticipate previously.
Oh,
I guess
okay,
you can
love
do
it.
that. That's
love
fine.
It. Yeah, we'll do that.
I like bigger spells, but you know.
But maybe we anticipate into a counter spell. I understand.
Yeah.
Anticipate for free. Not going to take the lands. He's going to take the third one. We didn't get a good catch of what it is. But this should be enough pressure to hit Chris's Planeswalkers. And I assume he's going at the Planeswalkers and not at Chris?
Yeah, get these Planeswalkers off the table. Once you're ahead on board, especially with the Gear Hulk coming back to your hand, Blue-White Flash cannot realistically catch up with you.
We'll see just where everything is headed here. Looks like he prioritizes Gideon over Jace. And then the Gear Hulk goes back to his hand. Gosh, that's filthy. Okay.
Chris does have the Scatter to the Winds for that, which can counter that on the way back, and Bradley has removed his Nahiri from the battlefield, which is something for Chris.
Yeah, the ability to exile tapped creatures didn't seem like it was coming up. But the Nahiri is gone. The unfortunate thing, it turned into a Gear Hulk. Thraben Inspector for Chris Andersen makes a clue token, passes. End step, Glimmer of Genius from Bradley. Chris has his one counter spell. Is this how he wants to spend it?
The thing about countering Glimmer is you already know there's a Gear Hulk in Bradley's hand. The Gear Hulk is backbreaking. The thing about letting it resolve...
He'll draw a negate.
Yeah.
Eventually, then you won't get anything. I mean, he has a copy main and a copy board, yeah. Untap for Bradley Hill. Another draw. Spell Queller now. I don't... Remember, even if you awaken Scatter to the Winds, it still only has converted mana cost 3. You can still Spell Quell that.
Yes.
An attack here at Jace. Thraben Inspector will jump in the way. It does take 2, however, off Spell Queller. Goes down to 3. Port Town and pass for Bradley. Chris is going to try to find something else. He draws a card off a clue. It's just a land.
And Chris is kind of doing an impression of a control deck here, but he's just not playing on the same axis as Bradley.
He's not a control deck, right?
No.
And that's just...
Also, he's getting horribly flooded.
Yeah, and you see he's got 2 cards, 3 lands. He can keep pace for a while, but eventually, if it's who's going to draw more counter spells, more card advantage, more planeswalkers, the answer is Bradley.
Yes. He already just has a Gear Hulk in reserve.
Chris will pass the turn. End step, another Glimmer of Genius from Bradley. Chris's hand is rebuff, scatter 3 lands. He's not pulling the trigger on this negate, but I think he knows that when he eventually does, he's just going to lose a counter war over it. He might just have to go for it. Not yet. He'll let it resolve. 2 scries to the bottom.
And this is the phase where you can feel like you're playing Magic against a deck like Jeskai Control, but...
It's 20-19. Chris is winning.
This is over.
Yeah. He's drawn up to a 6-card hand, a Gear Hulk in hand that he's just not even needing. Void Shatter entered Bradley's hand off that Glimmer. And that should cover Chris's counterspell.
And even if Chris were drawing spells, he'd be drawing a lot of spells like Selfless Spirit, Stasis Snare. They're very okay, but Bradley has so much stuff that just pulls further ahead.
You see Bradley thought about activating Fumarole there, just decided against it. Attacks the Jace down to 2. And Chris loses the ally token. Spell Shrivel was his draw. Then Jace draws him a replacement Gideon, so he'll start trying to make chump blockers again. Here's Gideon.
You'd expect a counter war over this Gideon.
Yeah, Bradley, he could try to just answer it with the board if he cared to. He probably is able. But at a certain point, why?
He probably could just manage this on the battlefield. The thing about it, though, there's nothing that blue-white that's really presenting that's better than this Gideon.
This is the best thing. So here's the fight. Spell Queller, Scatter to the Winds.
So it's probably actually technically correct to sit on your hands, but
and yeah,
also
you should just let the, you should once don't because he's given up his last counterspell here in Void Shatter.
Yeah.
The technical correct play would be to let Scatter resolve, let him have the Gideon, attack Gideon.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But it also just you can do all this stuff because you're so advantaged just pound for pound, card for card.
You know, you also like maybe want to go get food or call some, you know.
Yeah, you got a top 8 to play pretty soon
you
here,
know,
right?
Candy Crush isn't going to play itself. Got to finish this match at some point. Spellcaller takes care of the Gideon. He does still have the Gear Hulk to get back Void Shatter. The one he hasn't played. The one that came off Nahiri.
Yeah, he's just kind of got everything lined up here.
Believe that draws a copy of Descend Upon the Sinful.
I would not cast that.
Don't no. He has. I think he might have Delirium.
Ooh.
Planeswalker.
Yeah. He could turn all of his creatures into 1/4/4.
And here's an attack. It takes care of the Jace, and he's started. Has he gone to work on Chris's life total yet? He did. The Gear Hulk hit in for 5. Chris is down to 15. Untaps, draws. He's got an Avacyn. The remainder of cards in his hand, Spell Shrivel and Revolutionary Rebuff. They're not going to do much.
Nope.
Because Chris knows that Bradley's card is a Gear Hulk. His first spell is going to be Void Shattered. And it looks like Bradley, Hill, and Jeskai Control is going to take down Chris Andersen.
Yep.
Just a
And
couple turns away.
there's not enough cards in Chris's sideboard to try to play a long game against a deck like this.
He could board in 15 cards and he still won't win.
Exactly. He has the Revolutionary buff. It makes sense. You want it. You can counter his Nahiri on turn 4, whatever. That would be great. But when you get to this phase in the game, he's just flailing.
And Bradley will swing for 9. Chris is going to go for... He doesn't know. He can go for the Avacyn, but he knows it's done. Here's Avacyn. I guess... Yeah, and here's Gearhulk for Bradley to counter it if he wants. And Chris can't even win the counter war over this because his Revolutionary buff doesn't counter Gearhulk.
Right.
And also Bradley drew another counter in the meantime. Here's Scatter to the Winds from Bradley Hill. He could Spell Shrivel it, I suppose. That doesn't even matter. He'll just pay. Yeah. Avacyn gets countered. Chris taking 9, going down to 6.
Chris needs his draw to be Supreme Verdict plus like some like a Karn.
Gideon. That's the play. Emrakul, maybe. No, he still Void Shatters it.
Yeah, Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, not the one that you're allowed to play.
He's shy on mana for that one, too.
So here's Gideon makes an ally, and we go back to Bradley Hill. And he should have him on board. That Wandering Fumarole should be enough to end the game if he chooses to go for it. Otherwise, he can end it next turn as well. Here is the creature land. The 4/1/4, soon to be a 4/1. Here's another one.
And Chris rearranging his lands to try to get Bradley to second guess himself.
What do you have, Chris? What are you representing?
He's got nothing. He's just trying to make him nervous.
5 attackers, a swing. And that is going to do it. Bradley Hill gets his 12th win. That is good enough for top 8. And it's weird to say that the all removal spell deck is one of the good guys, but score 1 for the good guys. The lone Jeskai control player in day 2, he is headed on to the top 8.